early 20th century, a young woman named Amelia Earhart who had a deep passion for aviation. She dreamed of flying and exploring the skies, even though it was a predominantly male-dominated field at the time. Amelia faced numerous challenges and setbacks, but her determination and courage propelled her forward. In 1932, Amelia made history by becoming the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. This feat earned her widespread recognition and admiration. She continued to break barriers and set records, pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible for women in aviation. Amelia became an inspiration for women. Sadly, Amelia's life was cut short in 1937 when she disappeared while attempting to circumnavigate the globe. Her legacy, however, lives on as a reminder of the power of determination and the pursuit of one's passion. Harriet Tubman was a remarkable African-American woman who played a significant role in the abolition of slavery in the United States. Born into slavery around 1822 in Maryland, Tubman endured harsh conditions and suffered physical abuse. However, she managed to escape slavery in 1849 and subsequently dedicated her life to helping others find freedom. Tubman became one of the most famous conductors of the Underground Railroad, a network of secret routes and safe houses that helped enslaved individuals escape to free states and Canada. Risking her own life, Tubman made numerous dangerous trips back into slaveholding states, leading around 70 people, including family and friends, to freedom. Her bravery and determination earned her the nickname Moses, as she led people out of bondage, just as the biblical figure led the Israelites out of Egypt. Tubman's efforts made her a prominent figure in the fight against slavery, and she became an inspiration to many. During the American Civil War, Tubman served as a nurse, cook, and spy for the Union Army. She worked alongside abolitionists and activists, advocating for the end of slavery and women's rights. Her experiences and contributions during this time further solidified her place in history. After the war, Tubman continued her activism, fighting for women's suffrage and providing assistance to former slaves. She established a home for the elderly and worked tirelessly to improve the lives of African Americans.
Sacagawea was a Shoshone woman who played a vital role as an interpreter and guide during the Lewis and Clark expedition in the early 19th century. Born around 1788 in what is now Idaho, Sacagawea was captured by a rival tribe and eventually sold to a French-Canadian fur trader named Toussaint Charbonneau, who became her husband. In 1804, when the Corps of Discovery, led by Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, set out to explore the western part of the United States, Sacagawea was invited to join as an interpreter. Her knowledge of the land, her ability to speak Shoshone and Hidatsa, and her familiarity with the Native American tribes they encountered proved invaluable. During the expedition, Sacagawea also played a significant role in diplomatic encounters, often diffusing tensions between the explorers and Native American tribes. Her presence also helped to show that the expedition was not a military threat. Sacagawea's most famous contribution to the expedition came when she guided the team through the treacherous terrain of the Rocky Mountains. She even carried her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, on her back throughout the journey. After the expedition concluded in 1806, Sacagawea and her family settled in the Upper Missouri region. Unfortunately, not much is known about the later years of her life. It is believed that she passed away in 1812 at a young age, possibly due to an illness. Eleanor Roosevelt was a prominent American figure who made significant contributions as a social and political activist, diplomat, and First Lady of the United States. She was born on October 11, 1884, in New York City. Eleanor married Franklin D. Roosevelt, who later became the 32nd President of the United States, in 1905. As First Lady from 1933 to 1945, Eleanor redefined the role, using her position to advocate for social justice, civil rights, and women's rights. She was known for her active involvement in political matters and her tireless efforts to improve the lives of marginalized communities. Eleanor held press conferences, wrote a newspaper column, and traveled extensively, becoming the eyes and ears of the administration. She championed causes such as racial equality, women's rights, labor rights, and the rights of the poor and disadvantaged. She advocated for civil rights and desegregation, even when it was unpopular to do so. Eleanor was instrumental in the creation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, serving as the chair of the United Nations Human Rights Commission. Her efforts helped shape the document, which was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948. Eleanor Roosevelt was admired for her compassion and empathy. She visited troops during World War II, supported refugees, and worked to improve conditions for the unemployed during the Great Depression. She used her platform to amplify the voices of those who were often unheard. Bessie Coleman, born on January 26, 1892, in Atlanta, Texas, was an American aviator who became the first African American woman to hold a pilot's license. She overcame significant barriers and discrimination to pursue her passion for flying. Growing up in a racially segregated and impoverished environment, Coleman was inspired by stories of World War I pilots and their adventures. However, she faced numerous challenges in her pursuit of flight training. In the United States, aviation schools did not accept African Americans or women as students. Determined to achieve her dream, Coleman traveled to France in 1920 to enroll in flight school. She learned to fly at the Caudron Brothers School of Aviation, where she earned her pilot's license in 1921. Upon her return to the United States, she became a pioneering figure and an inspiration to many. Coleman performed in air shows, thrilling audiences with her aerial acrobatics and daredevil stunts. She became known as Queen Bess and gained recognition for her skill and bravery as a pilot. She aimed to encourage other African Americans, particularly women, to pursue their dreams and break down barriers. Tragically, Coleman's life was cut short at the age of 34 when she died in a plane crash during a rehearsal for an airshow in 1926. Her legacy, however, lives on. Rosa Louise Parks, born on February 4, 1913, in Tuskegee, Alabama, was a prominent civil rights activist known for her pivotal role in the Montgomery bus boycott. Her courageous act of defiance against racial segregation on public transportation became a catalyst for the civil rights movement. On December 1, 1955, Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a Montgomery City bus. This act of civil disobedience violated the segregation laws of the time, which required black passengers to give up their seats to white passengers if the white section of the bus was full. Parks' refusal to comply with this unjust and discriminatory practice sparked a wave of protests and resistance against segregation. Her arrest led to a boycott of the Montgomery bus system organized by civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted for over a year, during which African Americans in Montgomery refused to use the buses, instead opting for carpools, walking, or cycling. The boycott marked a significant victory in the fight against segregation and served as a powerful example of nonviolent resistance. Parks' brave stand and the subsequent boycott brought national attention to the issue of racial segregation and injustice. The Supreme Court eventually ruled segregation on public transportation as unconstitutional, leading to the desegregation of buses in Montgomery and inspiring civil rights activists across the country.